wabarakatuh. Today we're going to present about the halal hazard point, halal control point and halal critical limit in the flowchart of the menu for obesity patients. The first thing is halal hazard point. What is halal hazard point? Halal hazard point is a point that refers to any agent with potential to cause adverse health consequences to the consumers.
Halal control point is a point where we need to prevent or eliminate any hazardous inside the halal food production. Halal critical limit is a maximum or minimum value where we need to control by the critical control point in order to maximize the risk of the food hazard.
The menu that we serve for obesity patients are steamed brown rice, roasted chicken, tartar sauce, meat salad, honeydew and Adzhim water.
Next, the steamed brown rice. So for the raw rice, ensure that the supplier of the raw rice has halal certificate. The storage for the raw rice, we need to make sure that we store the rice separately from non-halal materials to avoid contamination. The next process are washing and steaming. For the washing and steaming process, they are categorized under control point 1 and control point 2. For the washing process, we need to wash the rice repeatedly with fresh water for 2 times. For the steaming process, we need to steam the rice for 65 to 70 minutes to make sure that the rice are cooked roughly. The last one is plating. So for the plating, we need to make sure that the plate that we use for serving the rice is from halal certificate manufacturing. The plating is categorized under halal control point 2.
The next dish is roasted chicken. Raw material is identified as HCP1. During the slaughtering process, the slaughter person should know what is prohibited and allowed according to Sharia law. If there is anything against the Sharia law, automatically the chicken should be eliminated. During transportation, make sure the chicken is separated between non-halal meat. Next is thawing. Thawing is identified as CP because we just need to thaw the chicken with tap water for about 30 minutes. The next HCP is cutting. There might be possibility for the equipment to get contaminated with non-halal meat if the equipment is not properly washed according to the ritual plans. So the best solution to avoid shubha, the equipment should be separated with the halal and also non-halal meat. Next one is washing. Washing is considered to be CP because we just need to wash the chicken with clean water. Okay, the next HCP is marinating. You might have a possibility for the chicken to get contaminated if alcohol is added. If alcohol is added, make sure that it is below than 0.5% and it is from byproduct. So the best way to avoid shubha is by adding vinegar or apple cider. Brushing is also identified as HCP because we might not know that the brush might be contaminated with non-halal animal. But we can identify the production of the brush by looking at the bristle and also looking at the coats of the brush. Next is garnishing. Garnishing is considered to be as CP because we need to make sure that the hands are properly washed and also sanitized before garnish the ingredients throughout the chicken. Okay, roasting is considered to be the next CP because during roasting oven is used. So the oven might have contamination with non-halal meat. So it is impossible to clean the oven with water. So the best solution is to prepare separate oven for halal and non-halal meat. The last recipe is plating. The plate that we use might have contamination with non-halal sauces. So strictly check on the production or the origin of the plate before it is used. The ingredients used for marinating are garlic, butter, olive oil, lemon, rosemary and also parsley.
Next, tartar sauce. The first 2 ingredients is mayonnaise and sweet piccoli. This raw material is identified as HCP because the supplier of this ingredient must work under halal supervision organization. Next ingredient is onion. The raw material of onion is identified as recipe. This is because the supplier of onion need to work under the Halal Supervision Organization. After that, the onion undergo the control point peeling process. In this process, the onion needs to remove its skin. After that, for the control point number 2 is cutting process. In this process, the onion must cut using the clean equipment. Next, control point number 3 is washing process. The onion must wash using tap water to avoid the contamination. Lemon. Lemon is identified as recipe. The supplier of lemon need to work under Halal Supervision Organization. After that, lemon is undergo cutting process, which is control point. In this process, lemon is cut into the small pieces using clean equipment. Next, control point 2 is washing process. In this process, lemon is washed using the tap water to avoid contamination. Next, squeezing process is identified as control point number 3. In this process, the lemon is squeezed into the juice using the clean equipment. Lastly, the ingredient for tartar sauce is salt and pepper. Salt and pepper identified as recipe. For this material, the supplier need to work under Halal Supervision Organization. Lastly, all ingredients in tartar sauce needs to mixing together, which is known as control point.
The next one is mixed vegetables. For the mixed vegetable, it is combination of lettuce, cucumber and tomato. All these raw ingredients is classified under Halal Control Point 1. So for the raw materials, we need to make sure that the pesticides and the fertilizer that the supplier use is from halal sources. And for the storage, we need to make sure that the raw materials does not in touch with non-halal material to avoid contamination. The next one is washing process. The washing process and cutting process is classified under control point, which is control point 1 and control point 2. The washing process is to remove all the dirt from the vegetables, and for the cutting process, we need to use clean equipment to cut the vegetable. The next one is mixing the vegetable. The mixing process is classified under Halal Control Point 2. So to add the flavor to the mixed salad, we use lemon, olive oil, salt and pepper. The olive oil, salt and pepper, we need to make sure that it comes from halal branded. For the lemon, it's just the same with the raw ingredients. The last one is plating. The plating is categorized under Halal Control Point 3. So the plate that we use, we need to make sure it's come from factory that have halal certified manufacturer.
For dessert, we have honeydew. Honeydew is identified as recipe because the supplier of honeydew need to work under Halal Supervision Organization. Next, the honeydew undergo the cutting process, which is identified as recipe number 2. Next, honeydew undergo the cutting process, which is known as recipe. After that, the honeydew is undergo the washing process, also known as control point, which is we need to wash honeydew using tap water. The last recipe is plating. The plate must get the halal certified manufacturer.
The next main resource is Adzhim plain water. The first recipe is raw material, which has the possibility to get contaminated with harmful mineral and also anything that is called as najis by the Sharia law. During transportation, make sure that the water bottle is not contaminated with any non-halal products. So to avoid any contamination, Prepare special boxes for the water bottle so that the water bottle is not contaminated with non-halal products. Next, HCP, which is packaging. Make sure that the packaging of the water bottle is not contaminated with non-halal production. So strictly check on the origin of the production. If there is any contamination with non-halal products, reject the product. Make sure that the water bottle is not made from any harmful ingredients. Make sure that the water bottle can withstand with hot, cold, and also in the room temperature. If there is any dents at the water bottle, it should be rejected if it can cause harmful to the patient.
As conclusion, the authorized might implement the halal control plan and critical limit in order to produce halal and Thayyiban food. This will improve the assurance of halal integrities product that being handled in very smooth.
Okay, that's all from us.
Thank you.